to another fishing video. Well, hello and finally welcome to another episode of Chasing Dreams. I'm joined here yet again by Mr. Mark Barrett. I've just come to one of my local carp lakes, but I'm not here in search of carp. I'm here in search of Crucian Carp, a fish that is often in these lakes, completely overlooked, right, as a lot of the coarse fish are in these lakes. Generally, most days of the week it's just full up with carp anglers, but me and Mr. Barrett, we've got here early, nice and early. It's gone about 6 in the morning now, the sun's coming up lovely. And we're going to see if we can get a few Crucians out of here. Now, like most commercials or carp lakes, there is a trouble here of hybridisation of the Crucians. Our target today is initially a Crucian carp, but overall we'd like to try and catch one over 2 pounds. That's our specimen dream target for the session. I have to apologise now, there's a road behind me and that is going to make it a bit difficult with the audio, so I'm probably going to speak up a little bit. It's a beautiful morning. I've just picked a swim. It's a little bit down from Mr. Barrett and my float is just dipping down now. Oh, that's very Crucian behaviour. Just dip, dip, dip. Oh, it's risen up again. Oh, let's strike on that. No, nothing there. Like I said, very Crucian-y. so me and Mr. Barrett, we've decided to tackle this in 2 completely different approaches. He's on the waggler, on the rod, on the float rod, and I'm fishing the pole. It's got to be, in my opinion, the best Crucian carp method there is. Deadly accurate, fine presentation. You can pick up the bait, move it about, without actually dragging the bait out the swim. Minimum disturbance. Everything about this to me screams Crucian carp. A few years back when I really used to fish them a fair bit, it's all I ever used to use them, simply because it's the best method on the venue and just because I think it's such a deadly method for the cruise. But yeah, so 2 pounder is our target today. Lorry. 2 pounder is our target today, and lovely little water this, so I'm really hoping we can get one out. If not, beautiful day in amongst a week of rain. Right, let's have a look at my rig. Put the pole down. There we go. Now, real standard sort of rig for me when I'm fishing the pole. I've got a 5 pound guide and a hydro flow straight through. Reason for that is usually I'll be fishing a lot finer line when cruising fishing, even the main line. The reason why I'm using that is because I'm on the carp lake, there are carp in here. Admittedly, if I hook a 20 pounder, this 5 pound main line is probably going to do a lot. But because there are quite a few 5 pounders and 2 or 3s, you know, I'm fishing a heavier line just to hopefully get one of those in and not snap up. But anyway, I've then got a 0.75 gram float there. You can interchange your tips on these, but I'm just using the red tip at the moment just because of the glare that's on the water. This is working the best. The carbon stem float as well. I do use the metal or wire stem floats, but mainly when I'm river fishing. I prefer these when I'm on lakes. I don't get too technical when it comes to pole fishing, as you can probably tell. But you know, I find that I find by fishing the pole, you can get superior presentation to just fishing on the waggler. So anyway, I've then got a running, as you can see there, a little running olivet, which makes up the bulk of the weight of the rig. I then got shirt button style shotting down to my hook link, which is a low diameter 3 pound hook link, which I've then got a nice big chunk of luncheon meat. Now that isn't what I'd usually be doing for cruising fishing. I'd usually be fishing size 20 or 18 hook with a single maggot or caster, but there's so many little rudding here, we're just getting absolutely plagued by them. So unfortunately, I say unfortunately, but unfortunately, I'm using a size 14 hook. Just take the meat off there for you. I'm using a size 14 hook, little wide gate barbs hook. I'm just pushing it into the meat. Shut that out now, it's ruined. And just sort of 2 centimetre by 2 centimetre cube chunks of meat, and that's what I'm using for the Crucians. I know it's a little bit crude for what we'd usually like to use, but to get through the rudding things in here, that's what we've got to do. You know, just get it down the bottom. And I'm still getting a small rudd on that. It's ridiculous. But I'm varying my baits. I've got a few other baits for me, and we've both got a bit of a special backup bait, which I might tell you about a bit later. But no, I just want to take you through the rig pretty quickly. Well, that's my rig. That's my fine Crucian rig, and hopefully I'm going to be able to get a few on the bank on it.
Rightio, I'm going to talk a little bit about baits here while we're waiting for the Crucians to switch on, because at the moment they haven't done. Now, Crucians are pretty catholic. They'll take just about anything really, but on this lake, because it's heavily carp fished, they're quite well onto carpy type baits, so they're not really probably some of the normal things you'd expect to use for Crucians. Now, first off, my big favourite is a good old trusty luncheon meat. Buy it in a can from your short corner shop, cheap as chips. A little trick that I would suggest, especially if it's a hard fish water, is rather than use what everybody does, which is the standard cubes, the fish can get a bit wary of that. I'd just tear chunks off like that and use a chunk like that. Not only do you get more surface area here, so it leaks off oil, leaks off flavour, but also it doesn't look like a normal chunk that's going to be attached to a hook, so you know they're a little bit less wary of it. Saying that, I do use chunks as well. I've got some there, and I'm just soaking those in a bit of that, which is Scopex squid food dip. It just gives it a different flavour, adds to the attraction, that permeates off through the water, and hopefully the fish home in on it. Another one, this is a really unusual one for Crucians, are these prawns that you'd buy from your freezer shop. Just normal frozen shelled prawns. They're a fantastic bait for a hell of a lot of fish actually. Carp love them, tench love them, even rudd and roach will eat them. And Crucians on here love them as well. My nephew had quite a good haul of them out of here a few weeks back, just using a single prawn on the hook and feeding in a few chopped up prawns now and then. Very useful bait to have up your sleeve. Failing that, another trusty old bait is sweet corn. I don't like it too much in here. There's a lot of little rudd and roach in here, and if you put sweet corn on, you tend to get bitted out with those, so that's a backup if all else fails. And finally, what we're feeding with is good old trusty hemp. Crucian carp, anything, loves hemp. You know, probably the predators that don't take hemp. So feeding good handful of that, little and often, keeping it going through the swim, so there's always some there. And also a few pellets. Don't go mad with the pellets. I mean, I've got a mixture. I'm using tiger nut pellets and halibuts. Don't go mad with halibut pellets. Halibut pellets were made for feeding fish and to get their appetite finished quickly. They will bulk up fish really quick, so if you put loads and loads and loads of halibut pellets in there, you might get the fish in, they'll feed up and they'll lose all their appetite because they're completely full and bugger off before they ever take your bait. So basically, keep your pellets to a minimum. And another little trick, which not a lot of people have worked up on, is especially waters like this. The fish, I'm sure the fish can hear pellets going into the water and they're attracted to that. So when you throw your pellets in, throw them in high. So they come in, they make a nice when they go in, it'll attract the fish in and you'll get that one extra fish. Well, that's what I'm hoping anyway, because I'm hoping that I'm going to get a few more in here before George gets any on that stupid, great big long garden cane of his that he's using. You know, pole fishing is for matchmen.
Now, like Mark, I am also going to be starting off using some luncheon meat, which is what I've got on at the moment, but he's glugging his in some Scopex, but I've decided to just dip mine, not glug it, just dip it in some of the feed stim. So hopefully that'll just give a really quick burst of flavour and oil and attraction into the water as soon as it hits the water. So that's what I'm doing with the meat. But this is my backup bait really, and one which I'm just started using now, and I must admit it's getting through the smaller fish a lot easier than the meat, because the meat's soft and we plucked off. These are just some of the little bloodworms or hookable pellets from CC Moore. These you can use as boilies, they're pretty much a boilie pellet, so these are really good on the hair, and I've just got a little super rod out to my right, which is one of these on the hair, tiny little 1 ounce lead on a little bolt rig, semi-fixed, so when the fish gets snagged wherever it can, pull off. And I've just got that just out the margin to my right, just hoping I might pick up a Crucian that's moving through. But that's what I'm going to be using on the hook, and what I'm using at the moment anyway, and it's definitely getting through smaller fish despite it being a smaller bait, just because it can't be ripped up, but it's solid, or harder, sorry. Just cutting them in half, so I'm just using half a little bloodworm pellet. Of course I wouldn't come Crucian fishing, being me, without these. Good old fashioned maggot. You can't beat them for Crucian in my mind. They are the best Crucian bait, long caster. However, because of the little fish that are in here, there's pretty much no point. I could try, I will try a bit later if I don't catch anything. But I think with the way the little fish are in here, it's just a pointless exercise trying to fish with them. And literally, I don't know if you heard that, but a Crucian just rolled in front of where I'm fishing. First one I've seen, I think it was a Crucian, it was either a Crucian or a little carp, but it just rolled in front of where I'm fishing, so it's giving me a little bit of confidence now. So I'm going to keep at it. So I'll keep at it with the bloodworm pellets for now. If I'm struggling on them, I will go back to the meat. Again, like Mark, like I said, we're using the same baits really, it's just a little bit of differences. And I've just got some of the hemp here which I'm feeding, constantly feeding into the swim. I've been feeding it with my gardener baiting spoon. But when you're fishing the pole, you haven't really got time, or you're not really able to, just because of the amount of hands you got free, to just get the spoon out. So it's brilliant for baiting up in the beginning of the session. As you saw, I baited a spot right tight to the margins. I'm fishing my outer swim at the moment. That fish actually just rolled in my marginal swim, so I might move into it. But as you saw this morning, it's brilliant for baiting up marginal swims. That's again the same with carp fishing and things. It's really, really good for that. So I'm just fishing my sort of outer swim at the moment. I've only got an 8.5 metre margin pole, so I'm not going to be fishing far out. I'm always fishing in the margins, just different severities, just how close I am in really. But as I said, baits are very, very similar to Mark. There's key little differences, and I'm hoping it's going to bag me the Crucian first. Well, a Crucian. I don't really mind if I catch it first or not, I just want a Crucian carp. And let's hope it hits that £2 mark, okay? Anyway, they're the baits I'm using. Real simple stuff, as always. And I've got good confidence in it. See if we can get one, eh? I'm just stopping for a tea break now, so unfortunately it means I've gone over to the dark side. I'm now using a rod and line, float rod, instead of the pole, just so I can have a bit of a break, because although I think the pole is still the better method, of course, it is a bit difficult to eat lunch and things while holding it, but I still want to keep some bait in in case the fish comes through. So I've got the rod out, fishing the lift method, or lift float, however you want to call it. Like Mark is pretty much as a normal float setup. 2 very small shots just to hold the float in place, just a bit over depth. Going down to the bulk shotting, just a little bit overshotting for me anyway, just down near the hook. So pretty much what happens is when the fish picks up the hook, lorry, and also picks up the weights, the bulk shot, it causes the float to lift because there's no weight anchoring that float down. So when I first cast out the float, because obviously all the weight's at the bottom and it's over depth, the float's laying flat. So I just dip the rod under the water, reel it back really slowly as Mark was doing earlier, until that float just cocks nicely hard onto it. So that's what I'm doing. It's on a cup of tea now, obviously. You need one of these when you're fishing, obviously. But fishing pretty much the same as Mark at the moment, and we're both getting constantly hammered by little fish. As I watch my float now, it's going dip all the time. And now someone might say, oh well, that's Crucian Carp, they can be quite finicky. Not in here apparently. I've never fished for Crucians in here before, but Mark's telling me that the fish, you know, they've been having in here, the float's just been going straight under or coming straight up to a lift float. The rod's been bending round just when the fish are taking. Now how un-Crucian-y is that? That's not even a word, Crucian-y, but you know what I mean. That is, well, I've never known of that, and I don't quite believe it until I see it. Hopefully I will see it today. The float will just go straight under. I mean, I thought I was away earlier really, because I had a Crucian, well what I think was a Crucian, rolling my swim, along with some bubbles and stuff coming up occasionally. Mark also had the same, so we thought, here we go, they're coming in now, coming in to feed, but perhaps they were, and perhaps these little dips are Crucian Carp, and we're just not picking them up. And perhaps the other day when they really were feeding, they were just feeding hard because they're hungry. You don't know, fish can do it sometimes. So I think I'm going to keep up this float rod set up for another 10-20 minutes while I eat my lunch. And I'll go back to the pole, because obviously it's still a good way of fishing, because it does mean if I hook a fish I've got a lot more chance of landing it if it's a big carp or something. So yeah, it is definitely better for that sort of stuff. And I think this is half the reason why the pole isn't used for specimen fishing a lot of the time. Simply because quite often for specimen fish you need to be waiting there for a long time. They don't just come along all the time. So often a pole, although it can be really deadly and often the best method to use in the day, it's just not practical to sit there for 8 or 9 hours without having a single fish, just waiting for that one fish to come up. So you can understand why I don't use it that often. But I still feel it's a real deadly method, and it definitely has its place in Crucian Carp fishing. Definitely. So I'm going to have this cup of tea, another lorry, have my lunch, and get back on the pole.
Right, well, after all the hopes and anticipations of early morning and the lovely morning that we had, the day hasn't turned out the greatest so far. It's now coming up to 3 PM, and so far we haven't had anything other than very small little fish taking the luncheon meat, taking the sweet corn, taking the prawns. If I stick a prawn on, it's instantly small perch. So in reality it's not very good. It's leaving us with a bit of a quandary. And it's the quandary that all anglers have: should we stay or should we go? And really, we're letting the lorry go past. Really, it's a job to say one way or the other. We've seen fish in the swim. I've actually had one roll right by my float, almost sunk my float as it rolled over. But they're not feeding. Why are they not feeding? I don't know. We've tried loads of different things. We've even started putting little balls of ground bait in now, laced with aminos and appetite stimulators and everything. That's not working. It could just be the heavy overnight rain that we've had to put them off as the water temperatures dropped. Who's to say? We're going to have a rethink about 4 or 5 o'clock time and see what we'll do, whether we stay here or not. If by 5 o'clock we haven't had here, well, maybe we'd be better off moving. Because as they say, an hour in the right place is worth all day in the wrong. So we'll see how we go on. Right, well at long last, after just giving you that lecture 5 minutes ago about how rubbish it's been, I'm finally hooked into something. I'm not really sure what yet. It's plodding around a bit Crucian-esque, but whether it is a Crucian or not, or a wrong or a carp, I'm not 100% sure. I've got a funny feeling it's a carp actually, a small carp, but I could be wrong. Let's put it this way, if it's a Crucian, it's a good one. It's a little common. Well, after excitement comes disappointment. There was us thinking that yes, we'd finally got the Crucian one, and it, you know, with a good fight, it felt like a big Crucian, and it's turned into an ugly little common with no top lip. It basically looks like he's been chasing parked cars, so I'm going to slip him back and hopefully he hasn't wrecked the Crucian swim, but hopefully he's going to bring some Crucians in with him.
We're just gone about 4:30 now, and I've decided to give my main Crucian swim a rest. I've been hammering it all day with different methods. I've just decided to give it a bit of a rest. So what I've done is I've just rigged up the feeder rod. I've been casting a feeder just out into the middle where I've seen most of the fish moving today. It's got the swim feeder filled with some sort of bodged ground bait here. All it is just some brown crumb which I've flavoured with some of the oily bag mix from CC Moore and hemp, and obviously some of the feed stim XP which I've been using in my fishing all day today. So yes, that's my ground bait which I'm casting out in the feeder. Also put a little bit of that out in the swim that I'm going to be fishing in the evening tonight. We're sort of counting on the fact that the Crucians may come in to feed in the evening. Well, I say counting on it, we're resting on it really. That's what we need to happen. So I'm giving this swim a rest. I don't really want to put a hook in there while I've got the bait in. I'm just wanting it to settle a bit. I've cast this rod about 4 or 5 times now, and I've missed a really good background with several other bites. So I don't quite know what's picking up the bait. It could be roach, rudd, bream, anything, but I just seem to wrap around probably a carp or something. Although this is a carp bait, it isn't stupidly stocked for a carp, you know. It isn't one place you cast out feed and boom carp, isn't that sort of place at all. More your sort of moderate stocking water where the fish start getting wise, you know. It's not difficult, but I wouldn't say it's easy either. It's one of those other range waters, and the same for the other fish in here as well, such as the Crucians. But you know, every fish has a soft day, and the Crucians definitely aren't feeding today. No one in the lake's doing that well, including us. So, you know, we're going to wait till evening, and hopefully our chances will improve. Well, I don't believe it. All day I've been sitting here watching this float. All that time I've been watching that float. What do? I turn my back for 2 seconds, just sort out my tackle, turn around, rod souped over, really going for it. There's a fish on. Hit it, nothing there. What an idiot I am. How the hell did I do that? Can't believe it. Then I had to add insult to injury. You're not going to believe this either. My sleeper rod, which I got a nice chunk of lunch meat, just ripped off, hit that, got it in near. It got very far anyway, so I got it in. I could see the fish. It was going round and round and round. It was Crucian. Came up, the biggest Crucian carp I've ever seen. And I know it's always the case. The one that's got away has always seemed to be the biggest fish, but I kid you not, that fish was huge. My PB is over £3, and that fish was bigger than that. That was huge. And what have I gone and done? I lost it. Going back chasing dreams. God. Bloody hell. Oh well, let's just hope Mark can get one before the evening's out, but at least it shows that they're feeding. I spent all day not getting anything really in the form of Crucian carp, but I suppose losing 2 is better than nothing at all. I'm not too sure about that at the moment, but you know, some people could say that. Gotta keep trying, but I've got a feeling I've probably ruined it now. Oh well. Come on Mark, you need to get us a £2 cruise. Well there you go, would you believe it? At last we've got our Crucian just under the £2 mark. Between 114 and 115. What a cracking fish. No, I don't care it's not £2. It's taken us all day to get one of these. Taken lost fish, mistakes and things, but at last we got one. And there's no doubt in my mind that that's a true Crucian. Just look at that. Everything about that tells me that's a true cruise. They're just beautiful fish. I'm so glad. So glad we've managed to get one at last. Right, I think we should put this fish back. Well, as you just seen, we've finally had our Crucian. It's brilliant, undescribable feeling to achieve that target. I know it's not the £2, or really not quite the £2 we were after, but I'm just so pleased we managed to get a Crucian. I was so worried that we weren't going to get it. I've been told about the water and how the loads coming out during the day. I thought, yes, this is a place to go to get a £2 Crucian carp for the video. And then all day, nothing, not a sniff. And just now seen yet another Crucian roll in the swim, so they're definitely about. If you're wondering, that fish just came on a bit of luncheon meat. I'm hooking another bit on now because it's been torn to bits by the little fish that are here. But yeah, I caught it on luncheon meat, bit big for what I'd normally use for Crucian carp. There you go, there's the bit I'm using. As I said, quite big. Just hooking that on, pushing the hook down the middle, taking out the other end, twisting it, pushing it back. Real standard luncheon meat hooking tactics. And that's it really. But as I said, really happy to have that Crucian. Brilliant. Right, let's see if we can get another. Well, there we go. It's another fish. And what I was hoping would be a Crucian, but it's a hybrid. I'm not going to weigh this fish because it's not a true Crucian, but still a lovely looking fish. What a beaut. You can just see by the upturned mouth and the way it looks, popped out eyes, an elongated shape, that it's a hybrid. But still a lovely looking fish. Ironically, it actually feels over £2, but I won't weigh it, as I said, because it's not a true Crucian. But I knew we'd end up getting into a few of these at some point, so at least we're getting through them now. Right, let's put her back. Well, as you can see now, I'm using the float rod instead of the pole. So to get the bait out there, and what I've been doing every time I've been casting out, what I've done is I've just mixed up all the bait I've been throwing in this loose feed with a little bit of brown crumb, so I've got the hemp in there, and I've also put in there, I've got some of the oily stick mix, real nice fishing mix, same thing I was using on the feeder earlier, but I just put more of the ground up luncheon meat in there, also giving it a liberal helping of the feed slim XP, always got a good bit of it in there, and that's it really. A lot of that, just a little ball, but that size, holds nicely when you chuck it out, and it's making the swim fizz with oil and flavour. And that's definitely what's bringing in the Crucians, no doubt about it. So what I'm doing, as I said, just chucking a ball of that out. Once I put the rod out, time to put the rod out again now, the bait's gone. That's the thing, luncheon meat, brilliant bait, a little bit soft though. You wouldn't think little fish would take that off, but they are, little rod and roach, they're pulling that luncheon meat off. I'm getting a bit out of the tin now. It's a real rough sort of chunk. As you can see there, real rough chunk. Just hooking it through. Size 14 wide gate hook. Perfect for hooking this luncheon meat. I'm just going to swing this out just under the tree where I was baiting up earlier. Easily done with the rod. Take you through the setup in a second as I get this out. Beautifully hooked the tree then. I'll try that again. Alright. 1, 2, 3. There you go. Now, I was getting worried about this really because, these sort of carp waters, they're carp waters, they're not Crucian waters obviously, but you can't overlook these, These are fabulous waters for fish like Crucian carp because they're in here quite often, they just get overlooked. So never underestimate them. These are fabulous waters for fish like Crucian carp. Oh, missed that one. Crucian carp, rudd, roach, perch, everything except from carp. Although they are good carp waters, obviously, but you know, everyone's here for a carp. Some of the other fish get overlooked. That means they're not very wary, and they'll take quite a crude setup, just like I'm using now. Most of my lakes, I'd never dream to use a big chunk of luncheon meat, ever. But here, they don't seem to mind it. I'm not getting the straight down bites that I was promised, but you know, still these aren't normal crucian behaviours in my opinion. But I'm not going to complain. They're there, they're hungry. I'm going to try and catch them. Well, there we go. Yet another crucian, and this one's definitely a true cru. Would you look at that? A little dinner plate. Would you believe it? 1:14. I don't think that two's going to come along. Well, I suppose there's still a little bit of time left yet. But yeah, 1:14. That's near enough to the 2 barra for me. What a cracking little fish. Just look at that. It's like a little dinner plate. Ah, brilliant. Let's put it back. Well, it's well and truly evening now, and the day's on its last legs. And as you've just seen, I've just had another couple of crucians. One was definitely a cru, and the other almost certainly was not, as you probably would have guessed. And I've just moved my rod slightly out of the snag. Still got the chunk of lunch meat there, which I've just been dipping in some of the Feed Stim XP liquid. Like I said, just when I cast it out, I've just been chucking a ball of ground bait around it, just to get the fish there and feeding. And I've seen quite a few rolling. Unfortunately, I don't think Mark's seen that many in his swim, but I really think it's down to swim tools, and obviously the ground bait's giving a bit of an edge, I think. But yeah, I've seen quite a few rolling in there, and I think, you know, they're in the swim. And as soon as that ground bait hits, it's feeding. Admittedly, a lot of that is from the ground bait itself, but you know, I'm confident that a lot of it's cruise. As for this evening, I've got my last cup of tea of the day, I should think. Light's really going now. You probably can't see it from the cameras. The camera's quite good at picking up low light levels, but light is going now, so it's come to the end of the day. Really enjoyed myself. I had to wait right to the end to get the fish, but we've all had fish. One of Mark's friends who's just down the bank has also had a 21-pound grass carp, which is incredible. Really happy for him. Real nice fish. Never seen a grass carp before on the bank. Very interesting. But yeah, it's coming to the end of the evening now. I'm just hoping we can get that one last screw. Let's hope we can get over 2 pound. And more than that, I hope Mark gets it. Anyway, should we get that one last fish?
Well, despite hanging on and on and on until the very last minute, unfortunately I have not troubled the scorers today in any way, shape or form, other than little perch. Luckily George has managed to almost get us to the target. 1:14 and 7/8 or whatever they were was close enough really, and at least we got to see some lovely crucians. What's gone wrong with my swim today? I don't know. The bailiff's cut back a few branches that were overhanging the water, and I think that's probably trashed it, but you know, that's the way it goes. You can't catch them all the time. Once again I've come with George and got stuffed out of sight, so I'll probably you won't see me again. I won't be coming with George anymore, I don't think, at that rate, but no, that's fishing for you. My turn will come.
Well, unfortunately it has now come to the end of the video. As I just said a minute ago, you know, the night's really drawing in now. The lake closes at 9, so we've got to get packed up. It's now 10 to 9, so it's going to be a little bit rushed. But although we haven't had our target of a 2 pound crucian, I think with the way the lake's been fishing today, we should be very happy with what we have had. Mark with that nice carp, and you know, I've had a couple of crucians out. But very close to the 2 pound mark, you know, they're just nearly 2.15 on one set of scales. They were, sorry, 2.15, 1.15. On one set of scales they were 2, but you know, there's bad scales for you. So yeah, it shows, you know, how close we were to our target, and you know, they were beautiful fish, true Crucian carp. You know, something that's quite rare nowadays to get a true cru. You know, obviously you could debate it because there are hybrids in here, but to me, looking at those fish, there's no doubt in my mind they're true Crucian carp. I don't I don't claim to be an expert by any means, but you could just tell. Anyone who fishes could look at that and go, yeah, that's the true Crucian. But yeah, obviously I had the hybrid, but you know what I mean. But yes, as I said, it's come to the end of the session now. Really enjoyed it. It's been great fun, you know, getting in close and float fishing. Really enjoy that sort of fishing. Don't do enough of it really. But I hope you've enjoyed this second episode of Chasing Dreams. I know we've really enjoyed filming it. And hopefully you'll see Mark and myself on the bank at some point soon. Anyway, until then, I'll see you next time and tight lines.